Hello everyone, this is Zach with the LaBelle Woodworking Studio. We build custom furniture as well as do furniture repair. And today we're going to be going over building our country style table base. This is influenced by one of the greatest American builders of the mid-century modern movement, Sam Maloof. It draws on the mid-century modern design and organic feel, which is why it goes well with so many different styles. We're constantly working on the design with every build, and in this particular case, we modified the base to fit a tabletop built in 2017 for a client that decided to go a different direction. We held on to this tabletop since then, and when we finally put it up for sale, we had our client reach out to us, who happened to be my second cousin. We showed her all the table bases that we had on hand, and she fell in love with this design. She loved this design so much that she knew this table was going to be at home in its forever location. So follow along as we show this build. To begin the build, we started with rough milling the walnut by skip planing it and trimming it oversized for each component. This helps to give us leeway in alignment down the road and does not require complete accuracy to begin with. This will become apparent as we continue on. Here we are breaking the boards down on the sliding table saw. When we are getting the straight edge cut along the long edges, we carefully align the front edge and back edge with the blade, ensuring that we remove the least amount of material along the edge while keeping as much of the width as possible. Here you can see me filling in a crack along one edge using Starbond CA glue. This does a particularly good job at filling in the cracks while remaining flexible. Next, as we do a rough layout, we find the center of the top arms and center column and trace the outline of the template on the boards. This helps us locate the placement of the feet. Here you can see me marking the setback for the feet to ensure a clean 45-degree cut can be made, leaving a section of the center column in between both legs. We then built a jig to trim the waste material for the feet. This will give us a flat spot to attach feet before glue up. The pointed part you see here will be cut off at the bandsaw after the entire glue up is done. I wanted to show you the process of trimming one side of a leg on the bandsaw so you can see the process without trimming this section. So it can be sped up to show you how the legs are cut. I am following the traced lines, keeping at least 1/8 of an inch back from the line that will be removed when flush trimming at the router table. This process takes about 10 minutes aside on each leg, as I do not want to move too quickly and risk binding the blade or overcutting in a spot. Once the legs have been rough cut on the bandsaw, we place them in custom jigs. These jigs are designed for flush trimming one spot on each leg. I used to use the same template that is used to trace a pattern on the parts, but it can be unsafe as the double-sided tape, as good as it is, can slip, causing the material to move around on a bit, spinning at 18 to 25,000 RPMs, which is unsafe. These jigs are designed to give extra runway for the bit to enter and exit the material while keeping their hands away from the bit. When designing jigs for finished shaping, make sure that the edges are smooth and continuous and provide no jagged spots. However, we are not spending hours perfecting this, since the next step in the process will further refine the shape of the legs. Our main goal at this step is to give us a flat reference surface directly on the part. Once we have this, we can remove the part from the jig and run it again on the router with the pattern bit. This bit will use the previously cut sections as its guide, giving us a much smoother surface. Once the spots have been flush trimmed, we change the router bit to a large roundover bit. This will create the initial flowing shape of the leg. We could use the router bit to completely round over every part and call it good, but the bearing rides on the wood. So if we round it over one side and flip the piece over and round it over the other side, the bearing will no longer be riding on a flat surface and will remove more material as it is riding on a curved surface that is recessed from the initial plane. Now this is why we are not spending hours on getting the jigs perfect and why leaving a flat surface on the edges was acceptable. This is the part that I love when building furniture like this. Every part in our country table base is hand shaped to finish it off. When I say hand shaped, we either use hand tools or the random orbital sander to refine the shapes of the parts. Our goal in this step is to further round over the edges, blending the flat faces into each other and slowly removing the flat spot on the edges. We always start this process with the Stanley Sureform plane. Think of it as a large cheese grater for the wood. We can quickly remove large amounts of material, creating the rough shape we are going for. With the shape of the legs defined, our next piece is a coarse half-round rasp that can quickly remove the Sureform marks. This is followed by a coarse round file that will flow easily into the curves of the leg. This helps remove the coarse rasp teeth marks. Once the coarser marks are removed, I switch to 120 grit sandpaper and begin to hand sand the leg, removing as much of the shaping marks as possible. I then work my way through the grits until 220 grit, checking the feel of the wood as I go until it feels smooth to the hand and I cannot see any visible sanding marks or file marks. Once the legs are sanded and the shaping is done, I measure from the top of the legs to the bottom of the feet to the desired height. The top of the legs are flat, which gives the reference point for the height. I then use the track saw and line up the marks and make the cut. This ensures a flat surface and stable footprint for the table. The stretchers are completed off camera in the same process as the legs, and then the entire base was assembled and glued up. We then do one final sanding of the base to ensure there is no glue residue left behind before finishing. For the finish, I'm applying Rubio Monocoat Pure. This is one of our more popular finishing options and one we consult our clients on. It is durable and easy to apply. It can be maintained by the customer with regular cleanings and spot touch-up on scratches. Is it the most durable finish out there? No. But the cost analysis comparing initial cost, durability, maintenance, ease of the finish repairs, and finally ease of refinishing in 10 to 20 years. Rubio Monocoat and other hard wax finishing systems are the better option for most customers. Why do I mention refinishing? This is a product that is intended for daily use, and with children or pets, or a lot of guests, it will be abused and the finish will naturally wear away in the most used spots, i.e. arms on the edges or chair dings. It is a natural product and will need to be maintained to ensure a full life of use. Once the finish has been applied, I wait the manufacturer's recommended amount of time, then come back with shop towels and begin removing the excess material. I continue wiping until the shop towels are clean. I wait 15 minutes after the last pass before coming back for one final pass, just in case the wood pores push out any additional finish. Here you can see the final product, the top attached. The client was super excited to see the finished product, and we're happy to have it placed in his forever home. Even after a year and a half had passed, I ran into our client and was happy to hear how the table was holding up. It still looks amazing as the day they received it and could not be happier. We hope you enjoyed following this process. Hopefully you learned something and will come back again. Till next time, have a wonderful day.